Josh, man, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you here and to chat with you. I've been wanting to chat with you for a while, and I'm glad we were able to set it up.
Likewise. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, Austin. I appreciate it.
So I want to dive in because I spent some time listening to podcasts, recordings of yours before hopping on here. And one of the things that I heard was that you might be the most all-in person on your business that I've ever heard from a founder. That you actually changed your last name to Snow, like legally. Is that true?
So I haven't changed it legally yet, at least. But by all accounts, I guess I'm known by Josh Snow now. And I changed it on Instagram first, and then I added it to Facebook. And I was just realizing when people were talking about what we were building and you know, if they had met me or they were mentioning me that my actual last name is difficult to say, difficult to spell, but I realized with Josh Snow, it was kind of self-explanatory. It's like, Josh from who? Snow. What Snow? Josh Snow. Oh, Snow. So it just kind of connected the dots. And I got to tell you, I think it's been a really good move. I haven't changed it legally, yet at least. But so far, the benefits have been pretty cool. But yeah, it's definitely putting yourself out there, right?
It is
one way to hold yourself accountable.
It's mad respect, man. That's skin in the game. Add even more skin in the game. Well, dude, so when I was kind of doing some research for the podcast and hearing about your story, I think it's very interesting because you get a perception from the outside of what somebody is doing, and you learn about them from kind of the perception that you get from Instagram or interviews. I think a lot of people look at what you're doing and they see a guy who's really young, who's been incredibly successful, built a really large business. But when I listened to the podcast, it sounds like you've actually been in the game, in the entrepreneurship game, even though you're young, for quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about like where you got, like how young were you when you got started and when you started your first business?
So I was super young. I had an interesting trajectory the last, I guess, 14 years or so. I started really young. And I started building websites when I was, a teenager. I was 12, 13 years old. Started building websites. I didn't know what I was doing. Obviously Shopify and even WordPress wasn't really a thing back then. So it was just like, I always was fascinated by computers and fascinated with computers. And so I was comfortable with computers, although we didn't have one at home growing up. When I would spend time at the library, the school library, the Phoenix Public Library in town, I would always gravitate toward the computer. And I was fascinated. And so when I was learning how to build a website, which also was an accident because there was a contest or competition at the library where you read a book, you take a quiz, then you get points and you can cash in those points. Well, in the process of doing that, I found out that if I read For Dummies books, which are reference books, I would get 5 times the points of everybody else. And since they're written for dummies, they're mostly pictures. And so I was reading these like reference books, taking these quizzes, getting all these points and all this stuff, and you can cash them in for like baseball game tickets and stuff like that. So for me, I kind of serendipitously fell into the books of like how to build a website for dummies, web design, web programming. All of those type of books are really fascinating to me. And a lot of the design ones or even the programming ones were mostly pictures as well, kind of showing that. So I was like, wow, I figured out a hack here. I could read these web design and web development books and I could, beat everybody at this competition. And I'm also learning stuff. But after a while, I was like, wait a second, it seems like I could actually create a website. I don't have to have a PhD. I don't have to go to college. I might be able to build a website right here from the public library that potentially 1 million people could see all around the world. And so that was very fascinating that my age wasn't taken into account because I had tried to go get a job and people weren't hiring 12 and 13-year-olds. And so it gave me a chance to say, wait a second, nobody needs to know who I am. Nobody needs to know how old I am. All that matters is the work that I create and getting it out there. And I was like, this is really, really cool. So that's where I started. I started building websites when I was a teenager, not knowing what I was doing, not knowing that you could ever make money from doing it until someone was like, hey, can you build a website for my friend? She's got a business. How much do you charge for that? And then that kind of opened the Pandora's box on, hey, I kind of like this. I'm pretty good at it. I don't know what I don't know, right? So I'm like, I don't know. I'm naive to this whole thing. And so I started picking up clients as a freshman in high school, building websites in a weekend, for $500. And word started to spread that there's this young kid who knows how to build really good websites really fast in a weekend, and it's $500. So naturally, word started spreading, and I started to become a better designer, a better developer, because I started working with a wider range of small businesses that were looking to market online. And then once I had a client tell me, hey, if you learn marketing and sales online, if you actually help me generate sales from the website or leads or customers, I would pay you every month instead of just one time for this website. And that's what opened up my mind to the whole idea of direct-to-consumer marketing, e-commerce, how do we sell more products, search engine optimization, Google AdWords. That opened up the Pandora's box, and I said, okay, I want to become a really good marketer. I want to be a great designer. I want to build great websites, and then eventually leading to I want to create brands, and I want to build great products.
I love it, man. It's exciting hearing like the initial stories of where people have learned their skills and come into it, because I've interviewed so many people who've built really incredible businesses, and it's rarely ever an overnight success sort of thing. There's always the background of like good with computers, all these things stack up, and it's serendipitous to a point where then you get to, all right, I've hit something. And I want to dive into snow, because I know my audience is going to be, that's where they want to go, is they want to learn about like how you guys have done it and how you guys have built such a visible, incredible brand. I was talking to my my community manager today. I was like, I'm going to be interviewing Josh Snow from Snow. And she's like, I got hit with ads today and yesterday from them. She's up in Canada.
Okay.
When did you know that you freaking had something that it was going to be big? Like, what was kind of the defining moment that you're like, all right, this is not just a little business. This is going to be something that could be $100 million, $200 million larger than that business?
Well, I think that the real answer is you choose it. Business is tough. Entrepreneurship is tough. Building a brand is tough. Everything worth having is tough. Extremely difficult. And so it's ideal that you like the product you're selling or service, that maybe you're not, I wasn't a dentist when I started Snow, but I was working with dentists, my dentist and other dentists, that anyone I could get a hold of, I was getting them to test out the formula and talk to me about these products and everything. But I think you have to choose it as well. I think for me, early on, oral care is one of probably the hardest, looking back on it, looking at it now, one of the hardest industries to break into. It's extremely, let's call it commoditized. You can get toothpaste just about anywhere. Everybody's got toothpaste. So it's an incredibly tough, and you're talking about, a few bucks for a tube. So you don't have necessarily like a ton of room of margin to go and acquire customers. So it's a difficult space. But I think when I realized the feedback coming in from the customers of how the product was changing their life and how the results were changing their life, and that they started telling their friends and their family. And so there was kind of this, I called the first, 1,000 customers. I called as many customers as I could early on to understand, why did you buy? What are you excited about? How is it working for you? But once I realized that other people were experiencing benefits from this and that they were telling their friends, it started to kind of take on a life of its own. But I would say from the business side of things, I made a conscious decision that Snow was going to be, what I put myself on display for. I've got other businesses and other investments and other things that I do, but Snow was going to be the front-facing brand. And I made that decision earlier on in the business, not day one, but I made that decision earlier on to say, this is the business that is going to take off. I'm choosing it to be the business that's going to take off. And I'm going to put a lot of effort into it, getting off the ground, whether that's money, time, resources, whatever I got to do. So I think it's a balance of, on one side, follow the money, which is we started selling the initial version of the product. The formula and the way that we were talking about our products started to resonate pretty early on. So it was profitable pretty early. So I said, okay, we're on to something here. And then I said, well, wait a second, just like everybody wears shoes, everybody has teeth. And I go, okay, we got to keep working at this. It's not going to come easy. And I was looking for a really tough challenge at the time. And I found it with snow. And I think I chose early on that, hey, even when things get tough, this is going to be the business that I'm dedicating the branding side of it from a branding perspective, that this is going to be something that is going to be on a public platform and everyone's going to see. And this is going to be the thing. I'm going to change my name on social media to Josh Snow. So I think they kind of come together, right? Like you change your name to Josh Snow, and then all of a sudden things start to work more in the business. And not that it always happens like that, but when you commit yourself more, the business commits itself potentially more to you. It becomes bigger, which means it's no longer about just you anymore. It's about the community and the customers. But I would say the inflection point was when I sold out of the first batch of inventory in less than 30 days. It was just it went so fast that I said, wow, all this work that I've been doing behind the scenes, people are really resonating with this.
Man, what you're talking about with kind of choosing and like making the choice to go big and have some massive impact. I always think about Jeff Bezos. I love Jeff Bezos and I love reading his stuff. I love listening to him. One of the things he says is a lot of people predict the future and they say, what's going to change in the next 10 years? And he always likes to flip it around and say, what's going to be the same over the next 10 years? And one thing is people in 10 years are just going to want white teeth. That's not going to change. They're going to want that. So the market is very, very large and it's something that you can compete in. It's really competitive to your point. I watch what you guys do on paid acquisition from like an outside perspective, right? Because I've seen your ads and I think they're really, really good. I know Eric, who's been working with you guys for a while. How do you think about paid acquisition, and how has that changed as you've grown as a CEO, right? Because I know that's been a big part of how you guys have grown so fast. What is your mindset around that, and how has it evolved from when you were $1 million versus where you're at now?
I mean, the early days, I wrote the first ads. I built the first version of the website. Everything was still, even though I had built and sold businesses before. I always tell this story. I could have went at it and said, let me take $1 million and let me hire all the best people from day one. And like all of, it was still that same approach. And still today, I take that same principled approach when it's applicable. And in Snow's case, kind of taking that approach and saying, I'm going to figure out, I had a media buying background, so it was right up my alley. But what I realized was that partners I'd worked with before, brands that I'd built before, et cetera, the ones that grew the fastest were the ones that resonated well with the audience. They worked really well. The product itself, efficacious, no matter the space. There was a strong before and after element, so the product works. It's something that had enough margin that you could acquire direct to consumer and spend some money on the marketing and advertising so that you can get the word out like every brand does, but also accessible enough because it's not a $2,500 Louis Vuitton briefcase that maybe you make for $200 or $300. I don't have $2,000 to acquire the customer, but our thinking initially, or my thinking when I was first writing the ads, was what are the pain points that we uniquely solve, that we believe we uniquely solve, or I'm uniquely solving, and how do I convey that in the ad creative up front? So it's a little bit more direct response. So direct response is, I'm just making this up, this is water with fat burner in it, right? And it's like, it's direct response, and it's like struggling with those love handles, and it's a little bit more direct, whereas people get to know that your product works, and they go, dude, you don't have to sell us that hard. We know Snow works. What else do you guys got? And so it takes time to get there. We found that early on it was, Facebook costs were lower and all this stuff, and we were able to acquire customers very quickly, and we were also able to do it efficiently. But what happens over time is we had a time period in our company where we were too heavily positioned on Facebook and Instagram that if Facebook and Instagram were to shut off, like we have case studies with them, we're good, everything's great. But I'm just saying if Facebook as a company somehow disappeared, that, that would obviously cause a huge hassle and be a detriment to our business. So we started to diversify about a year and a half, 2 years ago. We started to diversify traffic channels. Obviously we started to dip our toe into retail almost 2 years ago. We started to diversify a bit. And then we've also strengthened our owned media. We have, about 1 million customer records that if customers who have bought from our Shopify store, from our different online placements where we have all that data. So the more customers we get, the better we are at acquiring. And that's also our DNA. So I come from a media buying, customer acquisition background. So we felt like we already had a really strong advantage in that area. And now what has happened is, it was in the beginning, Snow resonated so well early on that it was like, spend as much as we can, as much inventory we have, and just keep acquiring those customers. And then over time, as we've built a team and we've built departments and we've worked with agencies and we've internalized some things, we've added more products to the catalog. We're now on Snapchat, TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube, Facebook, Google, but billboards, banner ads, magazine ads, radio ads, podcast ads, direct mail. We're SMS, owned email channels, push notifications, messenger marketing. We're on probably 40 to 50 channels that me and Eric and the team are overseeing on a daily basis. Probably an 80-20 rule, right? So still Facebook and Instagram being the heavy, weight in the room. But we've diversified traffic channels. We've strengthened our conversion rate on our website, the product offerings, our upsell and cross-sell channels. We introduced subscription recently to bolster that onto our lifetime value. So what happened is, as customer acquisition costs started to spike, we made improvements on our end on the website to keep that down. So conversion rate goes up. If conversion rate doubles, your cost to acquire the customer cut in half. Everybody's so focused on the Facebook cost, the creative, and all of this area. We're looking at what's our upsell, cross-sell, downsell, how are we offering subscription to customers, all of this. We focused on that side. That was probably the biggest improvement we've done in the last 18 months. And to a lot of Eric and his team's approach on our side of really looking at email. We own our email channels. It's a multi-million-dollar channel for us. SMS is a multi-million-dollar channel for us. We pay $0 to acquire those customers again. They're already our customers. So we kind of had to cross the chasm of like higher customer acquisition costs, almost eroding our margin. Then our site improves. And now we're at a point where we look at Snapchat spend compared to TikTok spend, compared to Facebook spend, compared to Google spend. So we might realize that Snapchat on its own is losing money. But when we spend more on Snapchat to break even, Facebook is much more profitable. So on a Google Excel sheet, we can see day by day how every channel spend is affecting the entire funnel. Because if you look at it, Facebook, Google, you go, Facebook 2 times ROAS, and you go, Google 8 times ROAS, because it's all branded searches. And you go, okay, where's all my money? In reality, there are a lot more touch points that we can hit. And we had such an extremely successful holiday season a few months ago, because I think that we've laid out our net enough, it's strong enough to hold, when we're going through rapid waters, like we're strong enough and comfortable enough in that fitting that we can outspend. For example, in April of last year, we spent $5 million on Facebook ads in a 30-day period just for the Snow brand. And we were able to do that because of what's below the iceberg. We've been working on that for years, which is conversion rate optimization, our phone support, being able to call customers 24/7, live chat, like all this infrastructure that we've been working on. It started with one product, one offer, one channel, Facebook ads, and it was profitable enough to buy the next set of ads, the next set of inventory. And we just kept kind of doing that for about a year and a half before we said, okay, we got to start building legs in this business.
I think I love hearing that. I think it's important for people from the outside looking in, when they just see the end result, they don't see like all the work that you put in on the website, all this consistent like pressure over time. My friend Drew Sanaki says that success in e-commerce is pressure over time, right? You just continue to work and grind and grow forward, and all those things come together, and then you're able to outspend your competition and dominate. I think it's really interesting. One of the things that I kind of noticed when I was preparing for this interview was, I think it's interesting because you surprised me, right? And I was like looking at your Instagram and like listen and seeing kind of like you've got a lot of like, cars and like flashy stuff on Instagram. And then I go listen to you on a long form podcast and I was super inspired. I was super inspired by your vision and how you think big and how you talk about like team and where you're going. What has been the biggest difference for you as a leader running a $100 million company than when you were starting out and you just had maybe a few people helping you with snow or just yourself? What have you learned about leadership now that you're at a much higher level with a much larger team, multiple businesses, and a lot of people relying on you?
First and foremost, I wish there was like a theme that would like you upload it to Shopify and it saves everybody a lot of time. The thing what I found is, I'm a partner in a community called Powerhouse. And so I get the chance to work with entrepreneurs making between 100 to 100 million plus a year. And I get to work on a diverse set of problems with our community, with our family members there. As a part of that, we have a mastermind component and all that. So that is exciting because I get to work in 100 different problem sets. It's all e-commerce. It's e-commerce focused. It's an e-commerce focused mastermind. Me and my team and everybody involved, we get to see the different levels of complexity for the same problem. And so what we'll see a problem from day one where they have a problem with the label printers. And you see that problem extrapolate at $100 million. And it's the same problem. It just manifests itself in a different way, which might require a different solution, a different type of person to deal with that solution. So it's kind of the same problems magnified as you scale. They're always there, I found. I think from a leadership perspective, I'm a bit more of a macro manager. And so kind of what you would expect from, someone who's 75% visionary, 25%, integrator, someone who's, so for me, from a leadership perspective, that means that I need to hire great people. I need to empower them. I need to give them the authority that they need to do their job at the highest ability. And Snow has become a place that, because there aren't many of us brands that are doing this and displaying and all of that. Like Snow's not the only one. I'm not the only one, but there aren't a ton. So There is that attraction of extraordinary people who want to join a team like ours. So I will say that leadership has developed from day one of I'm doing the media buying, I'm building the website, I'm printing out the labels, or a small team is doing it, kind of surrounding me, to who is the person who knows how to think about these things and why we're thinking about them, understands why we're thinking about them, understands how to think about these things. And so I would say from a leadership perspective, learning to ask better questions, I think number one, learning to listen, not having to be, the wonder boy in the room with all the answers and having to come in with a plan all the time, to really say, you want to hire people that make you feel uncomfortable. You want teammates and partners who make you feel uncomfortable in their area of expertise. So if you hired LeBron, you're partnered with LeBron James and you start giving him tips on basketball, you're going to shut up pretty quickly. And so you want to hire the LeBron James, the Michael Jordan, whatever you name it. You want to hire that of whatever you can afford at the time in your business for each of those positions. And what I did is, one of my biggest problems is asking for help. So I have a really hard time asking for help. So I've been spending time reading books, talking to people, understanding more about how I am able to ask for help in those areas. A big part of that is having the right people around you to ask help for in those areas and having the trust and all that. So I spent a lot of time going from, call it 1 million to 100 million. The difference is, you have to have all the answers. You know everything that's going on in the business. You're supposed to know more about every piece of the business than any one person. You know how to fix the label printer. You know how to fix the Facebook pixel. You know how to do those things. Over here, you just don't have the time, even if you want to, because sometimes I want to do those things. Even if you want to.
They can be fun. They're fun.
They're fun. It's fun to check things off the box. But as a CEO today, I have to think about the solving of problems that nobody else could maybe think about. Maybe they don't have the time. Maybe it's not something in their wheelhouse. Maybe they don't have the experience, or it's something confidential or whatever. So I find that this level of leadership can also be lonely if you don't have the right people around you that you can lean on and talk to and be open with. And the way I've learned how to ask for help as a leader is that asking questions, being really transparent with what's going on, because you surround yourself with great people who are self-starters, they're in on it, they're your teammates. So if you go, hey guys, I'm having this problem, instead of asking for help, just kind of laying it out there, they're going to pick and prod and be like, well, I can help with that. Let me call this guy. Well, I can take this piece. And so I've learned delegation by first being transparent, sharing when I'm concerned about something, or I'm worried about something, or I'm happy about something. So I learned to share the best of that weekly with my executive team so that we can learn about that. And then to stay in touch enough where I can still jump in and pick and pack a label or a package. I can print a label. I'm still smooth enough in those areas. But I think over here at $100 million, you're looking at those areas as departments. And you're looking at who's the captain, the best captain for that department. And sometimes that department's not even built out yet. That captain's going to help you build that department. Where over here, you need someone tomorrow morning to pack packages because you need to get these orders out tomorrow. Over here, you're thinking about quarter by quarter forecasting, inventory forecasting, retail forecasting. You're relying on your direct reports and those KPIs floating up to you so that you can make those decisions that are timely. And then if there's a big problem in the business that happens out of nowhere, you have the mental agility to jump on that if you need to. But I would say my team, hiring the right people, looking for the best people that you can get for the place you're at in your business, and putting down what are you spending time on every day and what should you be delegating to someone who's probably better than you in those areas. And I would say the first maybe 10 to 15 hires are really things that I was doing in the business. So if I was still graphic designing, we'd have a graphic designer. That's one piece off my plate. And then over here, media buying, that's one piece off my plate. Compliance and regulations and legal, that's one thing off my plate. Product development, that's one thing off my plate. And so then I can really operate in that mass zone of genius where I can really add value to my A players all around the organization versus being solely responsible for everything. I'm a bad bottleneck. I know these things about myself. So you gotta have like a deep conversation with yourself as you're scaling and be like, where are things falling apart? Where are things held up by Band-Aids? What are things that I need to hire for? And how do I find someone that makes me feel uncomfortable because they're so good? You know, if LeBron James joined your basketball team this afternoon, he's coming for practice tonight for the first time. You are in that gym waxing the floor.
You're getting ready.
You're getting ready. You're having cheerleaders come in. You're like, oh, LeBron would like this. You're really setting the floor for this high performer to come in and be like, okay, I dig what you got going on. You don't have everything here, but I like where you're going. You know what? I can do something with this.
We can work with it. Yeah.
You can work with it. And that's the feeling you want to have. Not, it doesn't be every team member you bring it on, but if you're bringing on people that are really close to you in terms of taking something very vital off your plate, you want to make sure that, one, you feel good about them. I'm a macro manager. I lead with high expectations, low pressure. And so for me, I realized that if I hire people to take advantage of that, then I'm not there to micromanage. I'm not there to middle manage. I've got to do what I've got to do. I've got a job to do here as well. So finding out that has led me to more of those operational type hires. So you got to kind of understand your own secret sauce. But from 1 million to 100 million, it becomes you move into the people business. This is the job and the snow business. This is the snow and the people and the customers business.
Yeah. I resonate with the asking for help piece massively. That was my own personal goal from last year. A realization as I was early in the year, I was like, I am bad at asking for help. I'm comfortable giving help. I feel, and like, I realized I love helping people out. I know other people love helping people out as well. And I realized I was actually taking away from other people's experience by not asking for help. Right. And it was actually a gift to be able to ask people for help, because then they're able to have the same feeling that I have when I give somebody help, which is an incredible, incredible feeling.
That's a great way of putting it.
When you're talking about that, I had Jake Kassan on the podcast from Movement. What he described about moving into what you described about moving into the people business was almost identical, right? He was like, at a certain point, it was like we had to hire all these people to come take things off my plate. Still involved with Facebook for a long time, and then it was like, let's just bring in the best people, the LeBron Jameses, and bring them in and get them on the team. It's interesting to see the similarities between very similar businesses. You guys have more of a replenishable model. I would love to talk to you about something that I've heard you talk about in other interviews, which is elephant hunting. Yeah. And the difference between hunting elephants and hunting rabbits. What does that mean to you? And how are you hunting elephants at Snow? Yeah. And in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, and a disclosure, I don't hunt because I believe it or not, so messages of people like, that's not a good metaphor. Why are you hunting elephants? They're endangered. I was like, I am not advocating any hunting. I'm an animal lover. Anyway, with that disclosure being said,
2021, you got to make the disclosure, man.
Well, I just, you never know. And I'm going to find another analogy that's relevant for that. But I think the idea of, if we take us back to hunter-gatherer days, where people maybe didn't hunt elephants, but they hunted, if you're hungry today, the analogy is you hunt a rabbit, and just from size alone, right, you're feeding yourself and, maybe your family, but like you're feeding yourself, maybe your family. An elephant, though, is to feed a village, and that's the metaphor. The elephant is a feast, right? It's not necessarily an elephant. The idea is, with a bigger challenge, with a much more difficult target, you can't do it alone, and you need to have the right people on your team that you can trust, and that are also mission oriented, that aren't looking to get a quick bite. They're looking to feed a village. They're looking to be someone, be something. And that kind of aligns people, because if they're simply looking for a job, or they're simply looking for some get rich quick thing, or whatever that is, it's like shiny objects, and the rabbits jumping around. They're all over the place. And you're like, I'm never going to run out of food, because I just got to find the next rabbit. And that's true. That's where a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in shiny object syndrome. It's like rabbit, rabbit, rabbit. And in your head, you think, I'll never have to worry about money, because there'll always be another rabbit. I'll always be fed. But that type of lifestyle can, if there's all switching involved. And I'm not talking about lifestyle businesses where people have chosen, I want to have a family-owned bakery. I want to be able to have some freedom of time. I want to have something of my own locally, and that's it. And I'm fine with that. I want to take some good vacations, and I'm good. There's nothing wrong with where anyone chooses to go, but there are a lot of people trying to hunt elephants when in reality they're hunting rabbits, in the sense that you have to delay gratification. You have to delay paying yourself a lot of times, right? You have to, invest your own money. You're investing your own time. You're investing your own social capital. You're changing your name on social media. There's this whole effort that comes into romancing a brand to have a chance at succeeding beyond 5 years, and being relevant. If you want to be a household name, or you want to be relevant or remain relevant 15 years from now, well, you have to change up your approach eventually. You might start off hunting rabbits, swapping things out because you're testing things. You start off with drop shipping, or you're trying this out, and you're learning the skills that will become useful for level 50. But you do have to make a conscious choice of, hey, this is going to be potentially a longer route, in terms of whatever that means: financial freedom, freedom of time, freedom of location. I'm here in the office right now in Phoenix, Arizona, right? So like, you have to be able to choose that. And before I started Snow, I could have sat back and ran businesses from my laptop. I was set for life. Like, I didn't need, from a financial perspective, to start Snow. What I needed Snow for was I needed an excuse to work with extraordinary people, to build a team that builds incredible products and makes a mark on at least the e-commerce world, or the direct-to-consumer world, or the branding world, to kind of show this David versus Goliath story and what is possible, with e-commerce. There's a bigger mission there. And all of a sudden, I didn't want to I don't think I took a salary for the first year. That I took like a $60,000 a year salary because I had to. It's like, this is not a wealth creation vehicle for me. The cars I have and the things that I have or whatever, I'm an old soul, but I'm also still a big kid at heart. So, there's that balance of I've taken care of my financial obligations outside of snow. And I've been doing this for 14 years, which is why I have the toys and I have the life that I have. But I am very much devoted to this. This is my sport. I don't wear a watch most of the days. I am very focused on my sport here. And I think the analogy is, if you're hunting rabbits, you focus on the day, you do a lot of short-term optimization. So instead of hiring the best customer experience person, you're hiring someone offshore who kind of did it once for $5 an hour.
Yeah.
And maybe you need to start there. I'm not saying you need to jump to that. Maybe you start there. But I'm saying the 5-year plan. Your 5-year plan, is it to build a brand that's very successful and really well respected, and you're working with extraordinary people that are leaving positions at very respected companies to join your team because they dig what you're doing better? Is that the plan that you want? Do you want to wear your stuff on your shirt, on your hat, tell everyone about it? Your friends are using it. Everyone's doing it. If you want to go big, you got to usually go bold, because if you go big and you don't really put your name behind it, unless you have a lot of money or you have a product that's just that good, it's going to be really hard to gain traction. So when you're hunting elephants, you got to make sure that you're using the right tools. You're with the right team. Even if it's 2 people to start with, you got the right team around you, people you can trust. And the idea is more than yourself, because whether you hunted a rabbit or you hunt an elephant, you're going to eat the same. Like, your stomach is the same size. Like, everything's the same. Why is someone doing that? It's for the village. It's for other people. And so I think when you build something first for yourself, but with the goal of it being for other people, and it takes a village to raise a child. And raising a brand is like raising a child. So you want buy-in from as many people as possible, your consumers, your stakeholders, your investors. And if you signal that you're not in this to hunt an elephant, you're in this to hunt a rabbit, like, I'll be happy if Snow's a $5 million a year company, want to keep it in the family. If I'm telling you that, and you're at a cushy job in New York City and you're like, I don't want to relocate my family to help you run your $5 million lifestyle business so you can drive a new Lamborghini that you're taking from the company, I don't respect that. We're super transparent internally. People know what everything costs. They know what the rent costs. Like, pretty much everybody knows what I pay myself now. Like, everything's pretty public. Yeah. So it gets, I think, because I would want that, is that, okay, so I know what's going on here. You know what I mean?
If you want to try, like, when you think about attracting people that are superstars, you have to think about attracting yourself. Right? Attracting yourself to a company. And it's interesting. You made a couple of points that I thought were very interesting. One about paying yourself, and you made money before snow, right? Which has given you freedom to think long term. I think it's very interesting talking to entrepreneurs, like where there's pressure, and sometimes people can make short term decisions if they don't have money, and they're also not paying themselves. They can make short term decisions that aren't their rabbit decisions, not elephant decisions. You don't get a Gronk on board supporting you unless you're making long-term decisions, right? And I saw, and many people I think have probably seen these advertisements that you guys would have with Gronk, with Floyd Mayweather. These are big time people. They came in because of a vision of a big time company. How did you, when you made that decision to bring in those people, how do you think about attracting a celebrity like that? How do you think about attracting and aligning incentives to bring in somebody who's got unlimited opportunities to partner with you?
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate at the time. I got called to be on a TV show. It was essentially like a Shark Tank style pitch show. And Rob Gronkowski was executive producer. And so I got to meet him. I got to meet Chuck Liddell there as well as part of the show, and a few other athletes. And so I had the opportunity when Snow, I think, had just passed $1 million in sales, to go and pitch, the Sharks in this scenario, professional athletes. And, Rob had never whitened his teeth before. He was like, I have super sensitive teeth. I'll give this a shot for 21 days. If it works for me, you'll get a call from me or my team, and let's do this thing. Chuck was pretty much in from day one. He's like, I know my wife has spent a lot of money on teeth whitening. It reminds you of a mouthpiece, from the UFC. and Rob was like, oh yeah, it's like a mouthpiece for football. And so the mouthpiece connection was what I was banking on. And so when I thought about the partnership, I said, well, these guys, first of all, they're great guys. And, I've really learned and grown to appreciate and respect, their partnership. And what it did is overnight we became a celebrity owned business, right? It was transformational in that aspect, because we weren't raising money, but we saw the value. I saw the value in their social capital to be able to if they like the products, them talking about how they like the products could only do well for our business. And so I think in terms of brand equity and raising the value, the enterprise value of Snow, it's like these guys have spent their entire career building the brand that they built, winning all that they've won and all these things. And for them to put a stamp of approval on products that they actually use, they actually like, the before and afters from those guys are searchable. Like they're actually in it to win it on these products. They love them. So that was really helpful for us in terms of a positioning standpoint of, oh, wow, wait a second. One, guys whiten their teeth too. These are two of like the manliest men using Snow to whiten their teeth. Guys and girls have teeth, and we can both benefit from a more confident smile. And so I think seeing the Floyd Mayweathers, the Rob Gronkowskis, the Chuck Liddells, these manly men, or these well-esteemed from a sports perspective, it's like, wow, if Floyd is saying this is the best thing, like I got to check this thing out at least. And then, I would say beyond that, the success has come from our branding, our marketing, our advertising, our, media buying, all of the actual sales that pays the bills comes from the core of the business. But it doesn't hurt to have the sprinkles on top of 100 plus celebrities that use our products, and here they are, and here are the before and afters. There's something alluring about celebrity of like people want to know what celebrities are using. And what we wanted to make sure that the celebrities we work with are actually using our products. They actually like our products, because I started to see that tide turn from other brands where people weren't being genuine maybe in their influencer posts and people were getting called out. So I was like, hey, my number one rule, use the products. If you like them, are you already a customer? If you're not, would you like to try the products? I'm really careful about which celebrities we're associating with, because I want them to really be excited about what we're building.
So much more powerful when there's alignment and they're in like authenticity, because people can sniff that out, especially on social media. And the moment they smell something that's a little bit disingenuous, it's like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. It's funny. You mentioned it sprinkles kind of on top, like having these like celebrities to be able to help things out. My friend Griffin, who started Pura Vida bracelets, he came on the podcast and he was talking about how one of the reasons they've had a lot of success with paid is all the stacking up of like conversion assets over time to lower the cost per acquisition. Like it's very hard for their competitors to compete with them because of all the things they've done from a conversion perspective, all the like testimonials, all these reviews, everything like that. And those celebrities sound like that same sort of thing. Those sprinkles just continue to help you lower the cost of everything so you can compete and spend more. I would love to know what is you've been in the e-commerce game for a while, still with a lot of products. What's a common misconception about running an e-commerce business or just e-commerce in general that you would love to debunk?
I would say a lot of people I speak with, they're waiting for the perfect like product idea or like something that no one has ever done before. You never know what's going to work. And we have literally a counterfeit and like brand policing team now. And so what happens is we advertise so much, people go, well, there must be money there. And so they'll either try to rip us off or they'll try to create a lookalike product. And then, by the time they're shut down, we see many times that they've only driven 50,000 in total sales, and they were like marketing hard and everything. They were doing everything right, and they couldn't do that. We do that in an hour sometimes, and it's like, what's the difference? And I think that the misconception is that you have to wait for this product that no one has ever invented, this hovercraft that also orders your food and all these things, like that you have to have something so different. If you look at Pura Vida bracelets, movement watches, right? We've got chemicals and stuff, but it's still, it's toothpaste has been around forever. And so like when you think about watches, bracelets, you think about the list that goes on and on, laundry detergent, soap. You look at a lot of these novel ideas that have built $100 million businesses, Brewmates, which is just like a Yeti for your White Claws and drinks. They built very successful e-commerce businesses with taking a product that is understood by most and tweaking it so that it's really understood by the people they're trying to get to. And so what I always say is take a product that solves a pain point. And if you're a dentist or you're a surgeon or you have something that kind of ties you to a market, use that to your advantage in today's day and age. But I would say having the perfect product will certainly helps. If you got something, the more differentiated your product is, and it solves the pain point better, it's going to sell that much more easily. But I would say the misconception is that you have to have one hero product, like the GoPro camera that's going to change the world. That's not necessarily it. The other thing too is consumer tastes, I think, have changed with e-commerce. They're buying their toner from one brand, their moisturizer from another brand, their under eye cream from another brand, their lip treatment from us, their toothpaste from another brand, their teeth whitening kit from us, their mouthwash from yet another brand. And so people have just like a playlist of songs.
Yeah.
They have their hits on there from the different brands. And so the sooner that you start to express to your early customers what you're trying to become 2 years from now and help them bridge the gap month by month as you grow, that's going to help. But I would say the biggest misconception is I have to have an award-winning, patented, such a crazy product that I get out there before anyone's going to want to buy it. That is not the case. If you have something that, like with COVID now, skincare is very tough, but if you have something specific for the mask, all of a sudden change creates opportunity. You could have the next $100 million skincare company focusing on that one area.
Like that too, like very, very quickly, which is unbelievable, right? Something like that. That's what's so cool and exciting to me. And one of the reasons I started this podcast and started working with e-commerce entrepreneurs from the beginning was just the realization that you can turn something on and go worldwide or go national and then go worldwide. And it's never been like that before. This is an incredible opportunity. We saw it during COVID as well, like how the dynamic shifted so quickly that all the people who had previously bought in store, now they couldn't buy in store, that shifted online and created an incredible amount of demand for people that are well positioned. Like I imagine you guys are pretty well positioned for that. A lot of my clients were well positioned and really, really had a big crazy last year. I don't think that's going back either. Like it's establishing new buying habits. I love the thought process of like the greatest hits that people have. Like you can pick something, a niche, and be really successful in that niche because there are no like moats really anymore, right? Like people can choose to find the best. You look at like Wirecutter. Wirecutter just helps people find the best. And there's an incredible demand for that thing. And it all consolidates towards whatever's best. I love also the idea of choosing something people already understand because the marketing has been done for them to understand what you're offering. And now if you can offer just a little bit of a tweak, it makes it so much easier for them you're not spending as much money.
Yeah, there are a lot of examples of it because we deal with this problem a lot inside of our Powerhouse Mastermind, like people that are launching a new brand as a sister brand, or they're trying to figure out how to expand their winning product to more winning product. Yeah. And that's where a lot of e-commerce companies get stuck because they have a few top sellers and they're kind of shooting in the dark in the other areas. And so, I would say I also meet a lot of e-commerce entrepreneurs who are getting 4 or 5 times ROAS on Facebook, which is phenomenal. And again, if you want to get lifestyle business, et cetera, if you want to challenge that, you think about how can we use that Facebook spread to build some more legs in our business. So I think there's a misconception around like, I don't know if I would have told you we would have been the number one selling brand at Best Buy a year ago. Like I don't think that would have come about, but it was that pressure of, well, wait a second, all of a sudden Best Buy logo on our ads, our click-through rate's higher. And, by being a number one brand in a retailer, we get extra benefits from that. And we can use what we learned from direct to consumer to juice our retail so that people connect the dots. And so the opportunity, like you mentioned, 42%, I think, of grocery, the 42% growth in the online grocery market. And it continues to grow because I see it even inside of my house. My girlfriend orders groceries to Instacart now. So that's like a learned behavior. And it's like, why was they doing it differently before? And that's the thing with a lot of these categories is that people would go to the store and they see one brand, let's say Pantene, and they go, I'm going to get the shampoo, the conditioner, and the scalp scrub because they're next to each other. I want them all to smell the same. That's easy. Online, they're going like, they see a TikTok video that goes viral for this eyelash growth serum. And it's a specific thing. And that's the eyelash growth serum company, just like Beauty Blender, makeup eraser, and all of these kind of, you call them one-hit wonders, but they've been able to then build the rest of the products there. So you need a product that works really well, that people already understand, that does one thing better than everybody else, that will resonate with the audience you're going after. And you use that to Trojan horse to build out the rest of the brand.
I love it, man. This has been super fun. I love talking with you, and I love going deep into this stuff, and I can tell you've thought about this a lot. If you were in my shoes today, what would you have asked yourself that I did not ask you?
I would say I guess the issues going from where we are today to where we want to be 3 years from now. What do I forecast as the issues? And I think that's an interesting idea. It's something that I think a lot about.
Yeah. What do you forecast? What do you think about? And where are you going? And what do you see as kind of the challenge in your way?
We doubled our business last year because we were positioned from an at-home perspective. We've always been that way. We've always been e-commerce, direct to the customer. So I think across the U.S., but even the world, we ship to 160 countries. Across the world, that at-home messaging that we've been ingraining into millions of people's minds really, struck true post, during quarantine and then during this whole cycle. But moving forward, we would like to become more accessible. So more, retail is a growing business for us. We're looking at international. We also partner with many dermatologists and dental offices to carry our products. So becoming more accessible in the sense of you can go into your favorite stores and find Snow products and be able to switch over to us or re-up. So I would say accessibility is big. And then continuing to develop products that differentiate us and continue to think about packaging and all those things in a different way. Packaging, formulation, eco-friendliness, sustainability, sourcing, marketing, celebrity, all of those things, thinking about that further. Now, the issues, like I mentioned, I'm as much in the people business as I am in the Snow business because the Snow business is the people business, our customers, our partners, our teammates. So I think a big challenge is a growing e-commerce business. We haven't raised a single dollar of outside capital as of today. So growing e-commerce business, never has cash in the bank because you're funding that next purchase order, especially when you're growing fast. So I think the constraints, which we're working on now, is capital allocation, making sure that we have adequate rocket fuel for that next layer of propulsion to get us to the next layer of atmosphere. So making sure that we have the right people in the right positions at the right time, but making sure that we're utilizing the rocket fuel in the right direction because there's a limited quantity of it and it's hard to get. And so really being specific in how not overhiring or not overspending in certain areas, getting tighter around their acquisition methods offline and online. So I think finding the right people, retaining the great people we have today, staying focused on our mission and not getting shiny object syndrome, because that's still a danger at any level.
Oh yeah.
And then staying as true to who we are as when we started, which was to develop an extraordinary experience in the oral cosmetic industry and keep wowing our customers. So I would say it's going to come down to people for me. It's going to come down to organization, operational efficiencies as we scale. We're moving to different systems. We're moving to different software. So making sure we don't lose efficiency. In fact, we gain efficiency as we gain scale. So those are the issues that I'm thinking about, but they stem all the way back from day one where I wanted to do everything myself because I didn't have the money to necessarily hire everyone. This is 10 years ago where I had to figure it out myself. And I think you kind of move in that direction. But my word of wisdom to myself, even looking forward and back to today, is don't be afraid to not do anything at all. Don't be afraid to ask questions and talk to as many people as you feel comfortable with. Get as much advice as you can if it's a mission critical decision. Really think through things, sleep on things instead of responding to things quickly. Take a nap, see if you feel the same way when you wake up, and realize that everything takes 5 times as long as you think it's going to take. So you're racing a marathon. And so making sure that you're taking a break and drinking some water and hydrating, massaging your muscles, because simply outworking everybody could lead to burnout, and then everybody loses in that scenario. So making sure that if we can just get 2 to 3 things right a year, we will have the brand that we want to build. And it's separating the signals from the noise that requires sometimes a nap. Sometimes it requires talking to a couple people, because if we follow the noise, things get really noisy and really hectic and really busy, but not productive. And then no one's watching the right KPIs. So I think that keeping track of what matters to the business at any stage is important. And over the next 2 or 3 years, the people that we are able to have join this team and be a partner with us are going to be detrimental for us to continue to scale.
For sure, man. I love that thought process, and I love the visual of the noise, because especially in our industry, man, it's deafening as things move so fast. Josh, it's been awesome, and I would love to keep chatting here, but I want to be respectful of your time. Where would you direct people to learn more about what you're doing? And obviously, there's your website, Snow, but like for more, just like if they're interested and they love this conversation, where would you direct them to?
Best place for more of these conversations. I try to make every single podcast interview different. It's something that it's a big pet peeve of mine. So the fact that you did the research and everything also made this like 10 times easier. So I really appreciate that. The best way to find more content is probably YouTube. So even searching Josh Snow, and it'll take you down a rabbit hole of all the presentations and videos I've done and podcast interviews. So that's Josh Snow on YouTube, just searching that. And then me directly on Instagram at Josh Snow is where I'm posting some of the flashy stuff, some of the down and dirty stuff behind the scenes, some funny memes.
I love it, man.
You get a whole smorgasbord when you follow me.
You do. You do. I told you. I was surprised. I had like an impression, and I listened to you, and I was like, no, this guy's like really well spoken, thoughtful, and is thinking really big and inspiring. So I want to thank you, man, for hopping on here. It's great to connect with you, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Austin. My pleasure.